Trackhouse Racing is looking to expand in 2022. Kurt Busch is about to begin contract negotiations in regards to the 2022 season, and John Hunter Nemechek will be making a few Xfinity Series starts for Joe Gibbs Racing. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. We got a lot of NASCAR stories to discuss here today on the channel. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. We're going to start off all the paint schemes and sponsorship news. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into that really quickly. The first paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Jeb Burton's 2021 Titan XC Loveland product scheme that we're going to see this weekend in the Xfinity Series race at Texas Motor Speedway. This paint scheme is alright, to be honest with you. It's not really great. I'm not a very big fan of the gradients of the colors. It's not a bad scheme overall, but it's not a great paint scheme. But it's great to see that another company is stepping up to plate and sponsoring Jeb Burton. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Chris Wright's 2020 America's Auto Auction scheme that we're going to see this weekend, I believe, in the Truck Series race at Texas Motor Speedway. This paint scheme is very solid in my opinion. I really like the colors of it a lot. It's also really good representation for the spotter as well. I think they did a really solid job on this paint scheme. I'm definitely looking forward to see this one out on the racetrack this weekend in the Truck Series race at Texas Motor Speedway. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Bailey Curry's 2021 Vogler manufacturing scheme that we're going to see in the Xfinity Series race at Texas Motor Speedway. Granted, really great company that's coming on to partner up. I'm not a big fan of the paint scheme overall and the colors. I'm not a big fan of either, but I think it's really cool to see that another smaller brand company from Texas, a bunch of different companies from that manufacturing cut, are basically sponsoring. I think that's really cool, and hopefully we'll help them get some good runs here this weekend at Texas Motor Speedway. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Kyle Larson's 2020 Valvoline scheme that we're going to see in 3 Cup Series races later this year. Remember, we've already seen Valvoline on for the throwback race. This paint scheme is absolutely potentially the best paint scheme I have seen so far this year. This paint scheme is beautiful. The colors match it perfectly. When I saw this paint scheme a few hours before it was released, holy moly, I was really excited about this. This has got to be canon for paint scheme of the year. This is a really good scheme. It's my favorite Valvoline scheme I have seen in a long time. Since back in the days of Scott Racing, Johnny Benson had those schemes. That's the last time this paint scheme was that good. I've really been a big fan of this paint scheme. It's really good. They did a great job on it, and I'm definitely looking forward to see this paint scheme out on the racetrack in a couple weeks here in the Cup Series. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Ryan Preece's 2020 Hunt Brothers Pizza scheme that we're going to see in the Truck Series races at Nashville and Pocono. Remember, Ryan Preece making 2 Truck Series starts for DGR Racing later this year. This paint scheme is all right, in my opinion. It's very similar to what Kevin Hart ran. I've been a big fan of the Hunt Brothers Pizza scheme, so really not much to say here, but it's also great to see the Hunt Brothers is partnering up with Ryan Preece as he is a KHI managed driver. The next paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Jeremy Clements' 2020 Straight Line scheme that we're going to see, I believe, this weekend at Texas Motor Speedway. I really don't have much to say about this paint scheme, but it's really cool to see that another company is sponsoring Jeremy Clements. Jeremy Clements has been really forming overall the year, so it's really awesome to see that another company is coming in and sponsoring him. I'm really excited about that for sure, and great to see that another company is sponsoring Jeremy Clements here at Texas Motor Speedway. And a final paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Alex Bowman's 2020 Ally Neon Light scheme that we're going to see at Nashville Super Speedway. There was a contest ran by Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt Jr. for the paint scheme that Alex Bowman is going to be running, as Ally will be sponsoring the Nashville race. They ran a contest in regards, and Jeff Gordon had the Ally Music City one, and Dale Jr. had the Ally Neon Lights. The Ally Neon Lights one, and I have to say, no surprise this one won. This paint scheme is really good. They did a great job on it. It's really good representation of the colors. They did an incredible job, and I'm glad that Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s paint scheme is one that was chosen. I really like this paint scheme a lot. I'm definitely looking forward to see this one out on the racetrack at Nashville Super Speedway. Now we're going to jump onto all the other major stories and discuss here today on the channel. Let's go and just jump straight into it. We're going to start off with Howie DeSavino III, as Howie DeSavino III is going to be replacing Jordan Anderson in the 3 truck this weekend at Texas Motor Speedway, as Jordan Anderson is going to be focusing on the Xfinity Series, as he'll be piloting his number 31 car in the Xfinity Series that he owns right now. Now, Howie DeSavino does have a start so far this year in 2021, which was at Richmond. It really wasn't a great start, though, as he ended up finishing 34th, I believe like 15 laps down or something like that, so he really did not have a great run overall at Richmond Speedway. He did not have a fantastic run. So the goal for Howie DeSavino, in my honest opinion, is to try to get some experience in the Truck Series, as, again, I would not be surprised if he makes more starts later this year, as Jordan Anderson's probably going to be focusing on the Xfinity Series program more. I also expect Keith McGee to run some more races as well for Jordan Anderson Racing going forward. But I think the goal for Howie DeSavino is to try to finish in the top 20, top 30. I know that's a really high goal for that team, because I think Jordan Anderson Racing is capable of. I think the goal for Howie DeSavino is to try to finish in the top 30 in the Truck Series race. I think he has the potential to do that. He just needs to make sure he doesn't wreck the car, and hopefully does very, very well in the Truck Series race at Texas Motor Speedway. It's going to be very difficult to pass as well. So hopefully he'll be able to help out there and get a good finish overall for Jordan Anderson Racing. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode as we are talking about Santana Frucci. As Santana Frucci is making his NASCAR Xfinity Series return at Pocono Raceway here in a couple races. Now, for a lot of you have been wondering where Santana Frucci has basically been. Santana Frucci has basically been racing in the Indianapolis 500, and he's been focused on that for the last month. A couple other drivers have been making some one-offs for them. We got Will Rogers, who's going to be racing here for a couple races later down the line. In fact, he's going to be racing in Nashville later this year. You've had other drivers like Chris Wright, who's racing that number 26 car, Brandon Dobix, who's racing 26 car, and Grant Enfinger's also raced in the 26 car as well. So Santana Frucci has been focused on the IndyCar side of things. Now, I'm really excited to see that Santana is coming back because Santana was honestly pretty good in the Sam Hunt racing cars. He was contending for top 15 sprinters every single time he was in a car for a team that's really running their first ever full-time season. He was doing very, very well. Yes, of course, Santana's had some controversy with quite a few drivers in the NASCAR Xfinity Series and also IndyCar Series. He had controversy with Connor Daly, but I think that focus he's been having in Indianapolis 500, he's been focused on that. I think he'll come back here and overall be a lot stronger. I'm really excited to see that he is coming back to the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and hopefully he will do very well. So I think he's supposed to run like 10 or 15 more races, a majority of the year in the number 26 car, so I'm definitely excited about that, and hopefully Santana Frucci will do very, very well here starting here in a couple weeks at Pocono. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're linking the last story from Sam Hunt Racing, and we are talking about Will Rogers. As Will Rogers says that he would like to race full-time in the Xfinity Series in 2022 with Sam Hunt Racing in the number 26 car. Now, of course, the big key thing for that is going to be sponsorship. In my honest opinion, I would really love to see Will Rogers overall get a big opportunity here because he's going to be running 2 races this year at National. I can't remember exactly the other track he's going to be racing at. He's going to be running 2 races here with GoodRx as the major sponsor. I would really like to see Will Rogers get an opportunity. Here's quite a few reasons why I think he should be able to get an opportunity. First reason why I think he really deserves an opportunity to come back and race an Xfinity Series full-time is he's actually has some Xfinity Series experience in the past, albeit it's been a few years since he raced, but he raced a couple races for Brandon Built Motorsports, which is Brandon Brown's organization. And keep in mind, in 2019, Brandon Brown's team was not as good as it is now, and I think that if you put him in a car then, he was basically competing for top 10s and Brandon Built Motorsports equipment and was really, really fast. And I think if you put him in a really competitive car, he would bring a lot of speed for you. Plus, I think he's a very, very talented driver. He's won a lot of road course races, and guess what? There's a lot of road courses in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. There's 7 road courses, and potentially more with the potential of a street course coming, and I would not be surprised if they would run the Truck Series Xfinity Series and that same weekend as companion weekend for. So here's potentially a lot of road courses right there. He's also got a lot of good short track experience as well. So I think Will Rogers would bring a lot to the plate. And I think he overall do a very, very excellent job. But I really want to see Will Rogers get an opportunity to race full-time. I really think he's deserving. He's a guy who's part of the NASCAR Next class, I think around 2017, 2016. So he's a guy that has shown what he's been capable of. He knows how to get the job done. And I think that he'll do a really good job. And I really hope that he gets to run full-time. If not, I hope he still gets to run the Xfinity Series, maybe a Cup Series one day. I think it'd be a really, really cool opportunity. But I really hope that Will Rogers at some point does get an opportunity to race some point full-time in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. I think it'd be really cool to have that opportunity for sure. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we are talking about the S-Rex. As someone asked about what are the spotters going to be when they revealed the lineup a couple days ago, someone asked about what were the spotters going to be for the S-Rex. Basically, Ray Everhand responded and said that there are going to be no spotters in the S-Rex. Drivers have mirrors and they could judge on how they race. Now, I think that this is a little bit dangerous if they're not going to have spotters, and there's a couple reasons why I think this is a little bit dangerous. Number one, I believe in 2010, I don't remember if they had spotters or not in 2010 at the Bristol race when they had the Legends race, and I remember when Charlie Glossback and Larry Pearson basically almost killed each other in a crash because I don't think there were any spotters because the guy stopped and NASCAR didn't throw yellow. And there was a big wreck that happened. It basically had someone going to the hospital and multiple broken bones for multiple drivers in that incident. So I don't want that to happen. And I think these drivers do have a lot of experience behind the wheel, and they know what they're doing. But I think a spotter overall would definitely help. I really don't understand why there are no spotters. I think it's a little bit stupid, and it's really dumb that they are not having spotters. I believe they should. I know most sports have it. I believe F1 does. I believe IndyCar has spotters. Enza has spotters, so why does SRX? I get they're trying to do something different, I'm just not a fan of it. I'm really scared something bad is going to come out of it overall. I'm just a little frustrated they're not going to have spotters. That's something that someone could get really hurt, and I feel like that overall is going to backfire. But that's just my honest opinion on that situation. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we are talking about Las Vegas Motor Speedway. As Las Vegas has announced that they are going to have full capacity for their fall weekend in the playoffs, which is the opener, I believe, to the second round, the opener of the second race of the second round of the NASCAR playoffs. Most races now have announced that they are going to have full capacity. But there's only a few racetracks now that have not announced full capacity. I believe Road America's not announced it at this time, though they're probably going to go full capacity. I believe the Indianapolis Road Course race has not announced full capacity. And I believe there's a couple other races, too, later down the line that have not announced full capacity at this time. A few months ago, there was really no tracks at all that had announced full capacity. We're talking about 50% capacity. Dakota had 50% capacity. That we thought back then that was going to be the largest crowd. But things have been moving very, very quickly, and it's great to see that Las Vegas, which has been one of the tracks that we didn't even know if there was basically going to be racing at all earlier this year in the spring, because NASCAR wanted to go to track with fans, and then until about a week or two before, they were going to have fans. And now that we're going to have full capacity for Las Vegas is really, really good to see. I'm glad that they're going to have full capacity. That's great news overall on that for sure. And now we're going to go to Judd and jump onto the next story of today's episode, as we are talking about the crew. As it was reported by Bob Williams that there are not going to be a second season of the crew here later this year. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm not surprised that there is not going to be a second season of the crew. To be honest with you, a lot of fans were not, before coming into this first season when they released it on Netflix, Kevin James' show, a lot of fans overall, including myself, were very, very skeptical. I did grow on the show. I watched quite a few episodes of the series, and I have to say it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. But NASCAR fans don't want a sitcom. They want a documentary-style show, similar to what the Bubba Wallace documentary that's going to be coming out on Netflix. Fans, you can have a sitcoms all you want, but fans want something really, really serious. Just look at F1's Drive to Survive. That series, I believe they're on their third or fourth season, and I've really enjoyed that show. It's a fantastic show overall on Netflix that's been put on. But I feel like a lot of fans, because the crew is really right now, until the Bubba Wallace documentary comes out, the crew is really the only type of documentary on Netflix that you have right now. And people enjoy more of the documentary style stuff on Netflix than any other platform. And in my personal opinion, The Crew, it was an alright show, but it kind of got old at points too as well. In my opinion, I'm not surprised it's not coming back, to be honest with you. They were talking about having a second year, but now they're not going to have a second season of The Crew. So it was good for 1 year deal that they basically had, and hopefully maybe in the future, maybe they'll bring it back at some point in the voluntary future, who knows. But it doesn't look like The Crew is going to be coming back here later this year, which is kind of unfortunate, but anyway, it is what it is. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we are talking about Jackwood. As Jackwood is going to be driving the 24 for GMS Racing for the remainder of the 2021 Truck Series season, starting at Nashville Super Speedway. Chase will be in the truck this weekend at Texas, and then right after that, the next week, Jackwood will be taking over for the remainder of the year. I'm going to be real with y'all. I'm not too keen on this move, to be honest with you. Jackwood's had very, very limited experience, and in the few starts I've seen in the Truck Series, in that 24 car, which the 24 truck has really not been fast at all, except you had a couple guys like Ryan Reeves contending for top 10 at points, and Chase Elliott, I think, is honestly going to be the favorite to win this weekend in 24. But other than that, this 24 car has really, really struggled throughout the year so far, and I feel like the struggles are going to continue. I think Jackwood may be able to get a couple top 10s here or there, but to be honest with you, I don't think Jackwood's going to be a really big contender. I think that especially is showing his ARCA side of things. He's been contending maybe for top 5s, he's consistently a top 5 driver, but I haven't seen him go out there and contend for victories, and the field is a lot more limited in ARCA than it is in the Truck Series. And from the few starts that I've seen from Jackwood, they haven't been overall too keen or too impressed with the runs he has. So I'm not a big fan of this move, to be honest with you. I think if he had a little more experience, then maybe. I get they really had no choice, because Jackwood does bring some funding and some sponsorship, plus he is part of that driver's edge program that Chevy basically has. So it makes a little sense in my opinion, but I just don't know how this move overall is going to work out long term. I think it's going to be overall a bad decision. I would think that things are probably going to go wrong, but I'm wishing Jackwood the best of luck. I think he'll get a few top 10s for the rest of the year, but I'm really not expecting too much. I don't think he's going to be contending for wins, and I don't think he's going to make it to the playoffs. I would expect that NASCAR may grant him a waiver if he is able to win, but I'm not sure, to be honest with you. We'll have to see what happens, but I don't think Jackwood's going to do that much, to be honest with you. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we are talking about the TV ratings for Fox Sports for their portion of the year. It was reported yesterday by Adam Stern that Fox Sports averaged a 3.47 million viewers for the Cup races this year on Fox, down 7% for 2019, which had 3.732 million viewers. But a mark decides to say they are still relatively encouraged by given rain issues at Daytona and Bristol Dirt. It was also reported by Adam Stern that excluding the rain impact at Daytona 500 in 2021 and the 2019 edition, NASCAR Cup Series points races averaged 3.357 million viewers this season, up 3% from 2019. If not for the rainouts at Bristol Dirt and Daytona, the ratings would overall be up this year, in my honest and sincere opinion. I think the ratings overall will be up. And there's a couple reasons why I think this is being the case. I think NASCAR has grown over the last couple of years. And again, the ratings are down this year from 2019. You have to remember, there were two races, the two biggest races. Bristol Dirt, which had a ton of hype around it, got rained out, got mudded out, I should say, and there was basically like a flood outside the racetrack, so there was no racing on Sunday. You had to push everything to Monday, which the racing was really, really good in both races, by the way. And Daytona 500, of course, they were on track to have one of the best ratings in Daytona 500, up from 2018, even 2019. But because of the rain out and 15 laps, and there was a big wreck, and then the rain out that basically kept going on until about 8 or 9 o'clock, fans did not come back on, and the ratings for Daytona 500 were really, really bad. So, again, I think you can't really say that this is a loss. It is a win, in my opinion, considering that you had two races basically rain delayed this year, especially since the two biggest races that were basically aired this year really, unfortunately, got rain delayed, which is really, really frustrating because NASCAR can't seem to catch a break overall. Again, it's really frustrating. The ratings are a little bit down, but again, I would consider this a win in my honest opinion, considering I basically had two races that were rain delayed, and we were up considering we didn't took away 2019 Daytona 500. We would have been up overall in TV ratings. So in my honest opinion, it is more of a positive. Again, it's a little frustrating. The ratings are a little bit down, but in my opinion, it is a win in my opinion, considering you had two races basically that were down earlier this year. But that is just my honest opinion on that. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we are talking about John Hunter Nemechek. As John Hunter Nemechek yesterday teased his plans in regards to what he was going to be doing here later this year. And it was confirmed today by Joe Gibbs Racing that John Hunter Nemechek is going to be driving the 54 car for 3 races later this year, starting at Bristol, then a race at Texas later this year, and then a race in the championship race in number 54 in the Xfinity Series. This I am super, super excited about. If you've been watching the Truck Series this year, John Hunter Nemechek has absolutely been killing it this year. I believe he's got 2 or 3 victories so far in the 2021 season. At Vegas, he's won at Charlotte, and he also has won at Richmond. He's been consistently the best driver so far this year. He's basically got Kyle Busch Motorsports back up on his feet, and he's proving why he's really, really talented. He's been doing really, really good. He's been the points leader pretty much all year long, the favorite driver pretty much most weeks. He's been really fast on the 1.5 mile tracks and the shorter tracks as well, and he's got to be your favorite average right now to win the Truck Series championship. But for the 3 starts that he's making in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, I think John Hunter Nemechek honestly could win all 3 of them. I really think he can. That 54 car has been consistently one of the top 2 or 3 cars. When that car is out on the racetrack, whether it is Kyle Busch in the car, whether it's Ty Gibbs in the car, whether it's Mark Truex, or even Ty Dillon in the car, that car has consistently shown a ton of speed this year. That car has been ultimately really, really fast, and I think John Nemechek will contend for victories. The All-Star lineup they've got this year, they've got someone who I think could come back to the Cup Series. He's having one of the biggest career resurgences, because remember last year, he was at Front Row Motorsports and wasn't really going good for him. Goes back down to the Truck Series and starts winning a ton of races for Kyle Busch Motorsports. And he's on the way up. And there's potential he could be jumping up to the Cup Series even next year. There's potential that could be happening with, depending on how the silly season goes, there's potential that he could jump back up to the Cup Series, do a lot of great things. But I'm really excited that John Nemechek is getting this opportunity. He's a guy that has shown a lot of potential. He's a great driver, and I think that he will do very, very well. And I think John Nemechek, in my honest and sincere opinion, I think John Nemechek will win all 3 races. I really think he will, considering the competition isn't as stiff as it used to be, considering a few years ago when he raced in the Xfinity Series in the 42 car, or whatever, the 23 car, he was contending for top 10s in that car, now performing that equipment, and I think that he'll do very, very well. And he was contending for a top 10 in Sam Hunt racing equipment earlier, so before they basically had some issues late in the race. But I think John Hunter Nemechek will show a ton of speed, and I think that he will have a shot at winning all 3 races in that number 54 car in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. I think he's going to do very, very well, and I'm really excited to see what he's going to do in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the first of 2 major stories in today's episode. as we are talking about Kurt Busch. It was reported on NASCAR Series XM that Kurt Busch is about to start beginning contract talks in regards to the 2022 season. He's going to first talk to Chip Ganassi Racing, but it has been reported that two other teams have been in contact with him, which is Trackhouse Racing and 2311 Racing. A few weeks ago, we basically had reported that 2311 Racing had basically been in contact with Kurt Busch, and he was the leading candidate to go over to 2311 Racing and race for them in the 2022 season. But now we have new information in regards to Trackhouse Racing that we're going to be talking about really, really soon. I think that here's what Kurt Busch does, in my honest opinion. I think most likely he's going to go to one of the new two teams right now. And there's benefits to both teams. If you go to 2311 Racing, you're going to be able to work with your brother Kyle Busch. You're also going to be able to mentor, basically, Bubba Walls and help him out over there. But a lot of teams are looking at Kurt Busch because he's won a championship back in 2004. He won the championship in 2004 for Roush Racing. He's been part of teams. He's gotten the best out of his equipment. We talked about, he ran for Phoenix Racing in 2012 at Sonoma and almost won the race. He contended with Furniture Row Racing before they became a top-tier organization and almost won races for them, was contending for victories. Almost won the All-Star race in 2013 and was really, really fast in that race. He's been really strong in all those cars, and he's been really good and a lot of really good equipment as well. He's been showing a lot of speed. Even back when he started at Furniture Row, he was showing a lot of speed right there. But like I mentioned, I think he'll end up at one of the new two teams. Now, let's start off with 2311 Racing if he is to go over there. Benefits right there. He'd be working with a new manufacturer. He does have a little bit of experience with Toyota. He basically was in the Xfinity Series, ran for Kyle Busch's Motorsports in the Xfinity Series in 2012, and got them the first ever victory at Richmond in a photo finish with Denny Hamlin. So there'd be a benefit right there of going over to 2311, plus he'd be able to work with his brother Kyle. Now, going over to Trackhouse, which is a new team that's in the market, we'll talk about here later. If he goes to Trackhouse, he's going to still be in the Chevy pipeline. He can also be a mentor to another minority driver, Daniel Suarez, and help them out. They have shown a lot of speed and a lot of potential overall, and he can really upgrade their team. Plus, Chevy has shown a lot of speed throughout this year. So if I'm Kurt Busch, it's a really, really big dilemma on what he's going to do. I don't see him going back to Chip Ganassi Racing. I think that Kurt Busch will either end up at Trackhouse or 2311 Racing next year. I think he's going to end up in one of those two teams. We'll have to keep watching what Kurt Busch does, but he's one of the hottest free agents right now, and probably number 2 and number 3 right now on the free agency market at this time. He may be able to go to a team that we don't even know about at this time, but I still think right now he's likely going to end up at Trackhouse or 2311 Racing in the 2022 season. And now we're going to go and jump on to the final major story of today's episode, as we are talking about Trackhouse Racing. As reported on the same day as reported about Kurt Busch on NASCAR Series XM, that Justin Marks has sights on having Trackhouse expand to a two-car operation in the 2022 season. Trackhouse Racing just literally started last year, and they're another team that is looking to potentially expand in the 2022 season. You have 2311 Racing that's looking to expand to 2 cars next year. They're expected to expand to 2 cars next year. You have Colleague Racing that's going to have 1 for sure car next year. They may run with or without a charter, and there's potential that they may have 2 cars at some points next year. You have other teams that maybe are looking to expand. You have Spire Motorsports that might be downsizing, but also they could be also increasing as well. You have Junior Motorsports that potentially jumping up to the Cup Series right now, among other teams. You may have some other teams that may be looking to jump up next year. And the thing that is crazy to me is now you have 2 new teams. This surprised me more than anything when this was reported about Trackhouse Racing potentially jumping up to the Cup Series in 2020. Well, jumping up to 2-car operation in 2022. This really, really surprised me in my honest opinion. Now, the question is, if they are to expand to a 2-car operation, what's the number I think they're going to choose? I think the number is going to be number 97. The number 97 they've used in the Pro Invitational Series when they had Daniel Suarez in the number 97. Jesse Busch is in number 99, of course. But yeah, Daniel Suarez in the number 97 car. I think they would choose the second car to be the number 97. The big question is, if they are to expand, who are they going to choose? Now, I think that if they are to expand, they have a couple options. Number 1, of course, is Kurt Busch we talked about, but there's a couple other options that do come into play. The first one, in my opinion, it has to be, of course, Ryan Newman. Now, Ryan Newman is in a contract year with Roush Racing, and there's a good chance he's going to be leaving, as Brad Sosky has reported and been linked to going over basically to running and becoming an owner/co-owner/driver for Roush Racing. He's been linked to going over there, and you also have Ryan Newman potentially leaving that team. Now, Ryan Newman's been in the Cup Series for a long time. He's been in the series basically at points since 2000. He's been racing full-time since 2002, but he does have a lot of engineering experience, and he knows how to work on a race car, and he's had a pretty solid career overall. So he could be first candidate to go over there. The other driver that I think could be a major candidate for Trackhouse Racing would have to be Kaz Grala. Kaz Grala's been in college racing, has been part of the Chevy program, the RCR program since Trackhouse hasn't basically been linked to RCR. He's been working with College Racing earlier this year, and he's had 2 starts. He made the Daytona 500 for them and scored a 6th place finish, almost got a top 5 for College Racing at Talladega. And he's a guy that's been part of the Chevy pipeline for a very long time, and he's gotten the best outcome, whether it's an RCR driving a 21 car in that series or contending with other organizations. He's been really fast. But in regards to Kurt Busch, we'll talk about him. If Kurt Busch goes over to Trackhouse Racing, in my opinion, if Kurt Busch goes to Trackhouse Racing, you're going to see a small-tier Toyota driver, like someone in the lower series, like Daniel Hemrick, Harrison Burton, Brandon Jones, Ty Dillon, John Nemechek, one of those guys end up going in there. But if Kurt Busch goes over to 2311 Racing, I really think at this time, I think it ought to be Ryan Newman or Kaz Grala or someone in the Chevy programs in the Xfinity Series, and maybe like Jeb Burton perhaps, may go up there and race in the Xfinity Series. But this is another big question in regards is what's going to happen because you have so many new teams that are jumping up. Are they going to be enough places to fill it? Because like I mentioned, Junior Motorsports is looking to come up to Cup full-time next year, even part-time next year. College Racing is looking to run 1 full-time car with or without a charter next year. You have 2311 is looking to expand to a 2-car operation next year, among other things. What's going to happen over there? I don't know. Is there going to be enough space for all these teams to move up? I really don't know. I would like to see the field expand, in my honest opinion, but I really don't know what they're gonna do. But Trackhouse Racing's been a team that's really been up on the rise, and a team that's been increasing on their speed and is performing very well. And I think the Trackhouse has shown what they're capable of. I believe both 2311 and Trackhouse have shown a lot of speed this year, both new organizations, and we'll see what happens. But I really would like to see this happen. Trackhouse expand to a 2-car operation in the 2022 season. So, anyway, that is me for today's NASCAR news video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notification on so you're notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Links description below for that, and comment your thoughts on today's video. Do you think that Trackhouse Racing is going to expand to a 2-car operation in 2022? And if so, who do you think the driver is going to be? And where do you think Kurt Busch is going to end up in 2022? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys next time for some more great and awesome NASCAR content. Take care, everybody.